Welcome to Doom Scroll Patrol, where we chronicle the downfall of Western civilization, one joke at a time. Today we are going to be talking about we're talking about a lot of things. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about the Mahmoud Khalil case. We are talking about Canada being taken over by the United States, and we are talking about deleting the gay and much more. I'm Aaron Higgy McKay.
I'm Harold Moss.
I'm Hannah Snape.
I'm Sam Perez.
And to top it all off, we even have a musical guest. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss it.
All right. So, where do we want to start?
Oh, boy.
This week on Doom Scroll Patrol. Oh, boy.
Gee whiz, the internet is so positive.
One of the things we actually haven't spent as much time focusing on is what's going on with climate change. And, you know...
I thought that wasn't real.
Sam got the memo. Sam got the memo.
It's a big hoax.
It's a big hoax. Well, I mean, the fact is
but
that...
isn't it China?
We are seeing, obviously, climate impacts accelerate around the world. And one of the things, there's a new study on you know, the reason some of us have called it global weirding at different points rather than global warming, because what it means is unstable weather systems could be boiling deadly hot one day. The next winter, you might see cold weather you've never seen before. And that's what we call climate whiplash. And it's happening to cities across the world. And right here in the United States, Los Angeles, still reeling from devastating fires that were supercharged by climate change, with wonderful information like 3 days of lead at 1,000 times the acceptable level because of lead paint and pipes, is now getting ready for flooding, right? Which also is worsened because the fires, you know, get rid of underbrush and things that solidify the soil. So the potential for mudslides and all sorts of catastrophes. This is happening all over the world. And what's going on here in the United States? Well, to quote the head of the EPA, Lee Zeldin, we are driving a dagger through the heart of climate change religion and ushering in America's golden age, which apparently will be burning full of lead, mudslides, and people getting their communities washed into the ocean. That is one version of a golden age.
He's very close on the periodic table. Lead and gold are very close.
Oh, darling, a geologist.
Well, I was watching the Oscars and stuff, and I'm just like, man, how could they? I know they have to do it. Like, I know they have to do the Oscars, but like literally we're going to get to the point where it's just like it's fires and floods on the other side of like, and people are just rolling up in their like gowns and shit and pretending nothing is fucking happening. And while Los Angeles both drowns and burns to death, like it is really becoming I guess the front lines of the apocalypse in LA, and they're going to be shooting Mad Max there on location.
I will say it is surreal because I guess someone like myself who does like work in film and production on the side, like writing and stuff, like you take these meetings and everyone's like, yeah, let's talk about this show. And then in the back of my mind, like everything's on fire, guys. Like
4.5 billion years ago, the sun and its planets were born when an immense cloud of hydrogen and cosmic dust began to condense.
Can I yes and on just something I kind of found that really disturbs me on this climate change thing? And this kind of gets to, I think, stuff we're going to talk about later, where the government of the United States of America is criminalizing free speech. This is not, I'm going to be honest, this is from the New Republic. This is not a great article. It seems to be breaking. But basically, this is saying the Trump administration's FBI moves to criminally charge major climate groups. The FBI is now going after people who applied for government grants from the EPA. So the government was like, hey, here's a grant. Here's a whole application. Here's an approval process. And they are now criminalizing the people who took that money as, quote, fraud. Again, the government asked for people to apply for these grants. They applied, were approved by the government. And now that they got the money, the FBI is now coming in under the Trump administration being like, you're defrauding the United States because you took the money.
And and across the board, they're deleting the data on climate. The shutting down of U.S. aid, which is going to also just kill millions of people from, HIV prevention and treatment, from famine relief, is also cutting 10% of the world's climate financing, is just going to be wiped out by that one targeting of one agency, and they're doing it across the board. I mean, so I think when we say that, a lot of us said that Trump coming in is going to be game over for climate. There is no game over. Systems are dynamic. The rest of the world has a lot to do.
Yeah, there's always stuff we can do.
But they are fulfilling on doing the most possible damage. Like there is a laser focus on, and it's not just oil. They're trying to bring back coal to Africa, right? They're trying to bring back the dirtiest fuels possible. There is like a death cult aspect to this around fossil fuels, right? Just this like drive towards, which is still, I still can't fully wrap my head around it. Like the richest people in the world are not just trying to, they are trying to accelerate the destruction of all life on the planet. Like, I don't know. Aaron, help me understand.
That's a big discussion. I think there's a few people, there's a few personality profiles that fit into this behavior. Some are just like straight up like, I'm a Bible literalist, and I believe now is the end times. And so the faster I can make the end times happen, the faster all the heathens will burn in hell, and I'll get to chill with God or whatever. Like, those are some people. I think some people are just crazy selfish and do not give a shit about other people. And I think there's just the sort of dark triad, people who make their way to the top because not standing up to them in our society has generally been a way easier thing to do than actually standing up to them. And I think we're now all realizing that these people are fundamentally broken inside. They are losers to the core because they feel this aggrieved sense of entitlement. And fascism is what happens, we're finding out, when the losers win.
They are losers.
Chris Wright, who's of course the energy secretary, who's of course naturally a fossil fuel
billionaire.
And I'm going to try a little thing. We're going to inviting on our first guest here on to Doom Scroll Patrol in response to Chris Wright, who said, with everything going on, his response of what the world needed now was more fossil fuels. So
for those who are listening at home and who cannot see what's going on, Harold has placed a
bedazzled snakeskin pink blazer.
Yeah, pink snake suit blazer, snake pattern blazer, and he's got some sunglasses on.
Cat eye sunglasses. Tinted.
And oh my god!
Thank you for inviting me to the show. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Camera switched, guys.
I hear you all talking about we need to shut down fossil fuels as fast and fairly as possible. When I hear people talking about that and the collapse of food systems and blah, 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 you know what I hear? I hear the sound of people who don't have fossil fuel stocks. Well, from those of us who do own lots of fossil fuel stocks, we have this message. What the? That didn't work. Can you hear the key?
Yeah, we can hear the keys.
Yeah, we can hear.
Oh, I can't hear it. Oh.
Well, that's going to be fun. What
good luck.
World?
Okay, I'm going to have to not hear you and then hear the piano. So this is just... Oh, I can hear you now.
Audio is the hardest, man.
There we go. It comes... What the world needs now is fossil fuels, sweet fossil fuels. 'Cause I see a bit of wilderness that we just plumb forgot to drill. What the world needs now is fossil fuels, sweet fossil fuels. We'll keep on pumping crude till the Arctic oceans boil. What the world needs now is coal, sweet coal. Is it even energy if you don't dig it up from a hole?
What the world needs now. Is gas, sweet gas.
Yeah.
It's
Sam,
probably
don't encourage him.
warming things faster than cold. So 2 degrees, we're gonna pass. So, you know, if you ain't got the fossil fuel stocks and you can't buy your own bunker.
Chris Wright, everybody. Energy Secretary Chris Wright.
Wow, that was cool.
This is the death throes of the fossil fuel industry, one way or the other, right? That's what we understand. And the world is having to organize itself around the United States as kind of this cancerous blob on everything right now. And renewable trends are still going to make fossil fuels worthless in the ground at some point. Not fast enough, tremendous amount of danger to human civilization. But I think that the silver lining, if there is one, is that the U.S. has been a block on effective climate action under Democratic and Republican administrations. The Republicans have been so much worse, but it's been under both. We've been a drag on global action over and over and over again, continuing to pump more oil. So if the world has to figure out how to sort some of the shit out without the United States at the center of it, that may, you know, it's not going to stop. Climate change isn't going to stop. Renewable growth isn't going to stop. They are going to dig in and they're going to kill as many people as they can. But the fact is that the world's going to keep on going on. And what's really going to happen is the United States is becoming a backwater, right? We're just going to become a backwater nation where nothing works, where alliances are made without us, where trade deals are made without us, where climate change is affected without us. And within the United States, a lot of this goes to the state levels. You know, that where states are going to continue to do effective climate action. So it isn't game over, but it's dark. It's dark what's happening. It's fucking dark.
It's sad because the United States has so many like fucking resources and also just talent. And there are really good people, obviously. You know, it's a giant place. It's just selfishness is winning right now. And that's sad. That makes me sad.
Mahmoud Khalil. So he's a permanent resident with a green card. He was a really big part in organizing the protests last year at Columbia University and all across like Canada and the United States. There's protests everywhere. But that was the main one that got the most coverage because they were disrupting the most function.
They were doing too good of a job.
They were doing too good of a job. And everyone was mad about it. So Mahmoud Khalil, he was arrested by ICE inside of his apartment, which is scary that they're now just going into people's homes and taking them. But he's a permanent resident with a green card. So the fact that they plan to take that away is really scary. Originally, the ICE agents said they were acting on the State Department's order to revoke Khalil's student visa, but they were informed by the attorney that Khalil was in the United States as a permanent resident with a green card, and so they said they were revoking that instead.
They just made it up on the ground.
Yeah, they're just like, okay, well, this is the actual reason. There's no charges. He hasn't broken any laws. He hasn't done anything. The only thing he's done is protest, free speech. That's his crime. So Tricia McLaughlin, the spokesperson for Homeland Security, said it's in support of President Trump's executive orders prohibiting anti-Semitism. And Khalil has long maintained his position that he supports the liberation of both Palestinians and the Jewish people. He told CNN last spring, "I believe the liberation of the Palestinian people and the Jewish people are intertwined and go hand by hand and cannot achieve one without the other." So that's just blatant lie.
Where was this like kicking people out with a green card thing with Elon fucking Musk and his double Sieg Heil?
Yeah.
It's just like he's also a permanent resident. I guess he's a citizen now, but still like.
But it's also that there is a legal basis if someone commits a crime with a green card to deport them. That there is whether that's justified or not is a whole other question. But they explicitly in the White House has said no, he's not being charged with a crime. It's for his speech for supporting Hamas, which just means being Palestinian. And Trump has said explicitly, this is the first of many arrests. This is we're getting to the no one is safe. And to think, if anybody thinks, this is the classic, first they came for so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. If anyone thinks that somehow they're going to assume citizenship is a protection, of course they won't. This is what they're doing, is pushing. And I will say one of the things that makes me infuriated is that the Democrats set them up for this, because the Democrats spent more time, for the most part, with obvious exceptions, condemning the protesters, including many Jewish protesters who took part, condemning the protesters. They are starting to come out and saying, oh, maybe we shouldn't be disappearing people not charged with crime. So there is some murmurings of dissent on the Democrats in office on this. But it's scary. It's scary and it's ominous.
Yeah, it's like no matter where you land on the Israel-Palestine conflict, this should scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
This is an attack on fundamental free speech rights. I don't fucking like Nazis, but they're also anti-Semitic, and they are weirdly also not being charged with anything.
Yeah, weird.
Which is also suspicious. I just feel like if we're going to be equal on this, we should be equal on this.
Well, but it's also... Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
I'll say, but in America at least, it's because they're white. And there's no other way around it.
Let's also just be clear that when they are talking about anti-Semitism, because Trump is a notorious anti-Semite who also just launched an anti-Semitic attack on Charles Schumer, saying that he's Palestinian, which is now first of all, you're not a real Jew if you don't support the state of Israel, is the underpinnings of that. Although Schumer is a fervent Zionist, but now they keep setting the standard if you don't do this. But all they are talking about with anti-Semitism has been the complete conflation of anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And they don't obviously care about actual anti-Semitism. They are bringing Nazis into the fold of their administration. They are anti-Semites from top to bottom of the entire administration. They are anti-Semites. So literally all they're doing is attacking anybody who challenges Zionism. And Zionism, let's also be clear, what's going on while all this is happening? Israel's cut off electricity to Gaza. The genocide's continuing apace. Gaza is the laboratory for the world, for all of these people. What can we get away with? What can we do that won't create such a backlash that we're prevented? And they do it to the Palestinians. That's how you sell weapons, is you blow up Palestinians and show how effective your weapons are. That's how you use AI to target people's parents. That's how you do all of this stuff. Gaza is the laboratory for the world. And so to challenge that is to challenge their whole fucking evil plan for anybody who dissents as the world falls apart. And that's why it makes this struggle so incredibly central.
Yeah, well, and Khalil's arrest, it was the first publicly known deportation effort under Trump's promised crackdown on students who joined protests for Gaza. The administration claimed participants forfeited their rights to remain in the country by supporting Hamas. Because which again,
Hamas means supporting Palestine and Palestine.
Yes.
Supporting Hamas translates here to I don't want to see babies blown up with my tax dollars. That's what supporting Hamas means.
Yeah,
that's the baseline for them.
A quote from Trump: "We will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again," which is very similar to a lot of the wording that we saw a few years after 1939, when a certain person was elected in a certain country.
And just a little guy.
Just a little watercolor painter who had a big dream.
That's right.
So do people know where this person's being held?
Yeah, he's being held in a notoriously violent ICE concentration camp.
Yeah.
Way away from his home down in the Southwest. Is it in New Mexico?
Louisiana was the last report. That was a day ago that they know where he is. But yeah, they literally took him from his apartment under arrest and took himself.
And this is why, to all people in the United States, if you ever see ICE, do not answer their questions unless you have a good, confusing answer. Like, oh, you're looking for Khalil? Yeah, I think he moved across town. You know, we haven't seen him here in months. Or just lie, obstruct, call the ACLU immediately. Just be sand in the ointment, because what they're doing is they're not following the law at all. They're breaking every law. Like, they can't just revoke your green card.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it.
I mean, one of the interesting things, now I have not done research on this, so this is unverified information, but apparently at a certain point, the number I saw it tagged to is if Tesla falls below 114, a massive number of margin calls, in other words, people who shorted the stock, will come in and his whole house of cards could collapse. And that definitely the auto, come on down to the White House, buy a brand new Tesla. But the shit that we saw was because if Tesla keeps cratering, which it will, 70% drop in sales in Germany, which must sadden him, because he's like, I thought the Germans like me because I like German blood and the homeland, and I go there and I seek Heil. Why aren't they buying my Teslas? I will work on my Elon Musk imitation for the future.
It's a hard accent. It's a really hard accent.
But it's that it's 70% cratered there. Obviously, they're trying to get MAGA folks to start buying it, and you see some people saying, "I just went out and bought 2" on social media, which is obviously they're just lying, right? That it's all crap. But there is a possibility that Elon Musk's house of cards, which is if Tesla was trading at the price to earnings ratio, which is typical in the auto industry, which is like 12-1 instead of these enormous astronomical things based on his bullshit, his stock would be trading at about $50. Tesla would be about $50 a share. And that would wipe everything out. So keep the pressure up on Musk, keep the pressure up on Tesla, protest, ridicule people who have a Tesla. Just let's get that brand in the garbage where it belongs, because actually wiping out Elon Musk's house of cards would have a genuine impact on their ability to do what they're doing.
And if you have
and that's why we saw that embarrassing
sell it
thing.
So people don't buy new ones.
Right.
Who are you selling it to?
I don't know. Whoever still wants a Tesla, and at least they won't buy it from Tesla.
Here's what there was a Cory Doctorow interview on Democracy Now! That I thought was quite insightful, where it was talking specifically for Canada, because it's probably not going to happen in the United States. But if we want to have pressure on Elon Musk, he's like, don't be performatively mad at his sea heiling. Make it legal to jailbreak Teslas, and then stop having Tesla's recurring maintenance fees coming in. So like you already have a Tesla. He's no longer getting any money from you ever again, because you can go to any mechanic who can diagnose problems in it now because you've jailbroken the code. And I'm like, that's a fucking good idea, Cory Doctorow.
Going on now at the White House Tesla Auto Mall. It's the biggest sale of the year.
Very safe, it's very strong, heavy. It's all steel, stainless steel.
Come on down to Pennsylvania Avenue, just off Route 29, to get our best deal ever on a brand new Tesla.
I want to make a good deal here. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low.
Get a Model 1 with a different panel and everything's computer.
This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
So don't waste your time going to those other Tesla dealerships with riots and flaming cyber trucks. You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
I love Tesla.
You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
This is really amazing.
Tesla.
Speaking of Elon Musk and Canada, perhaps this is a good time to bring up the thing that caught my eye yesterday. This is an analysis piece, but from the CBC. But basically, they talked to 3 former CSIS. 2 of them were heads of CSIS. So, like, CSIS is basically like our CIA, but we don't go and do black ops. They're like closer to the NSA than they are the CIA. But they're like our intelligence agency up here in Canada, and they're like, this is probably what the plan is, to paraphrase. phase one is put economic pressure on the Canadian economy by putting it into a useless trade war that will cripple things because we're, after 40 years of a whole bunch of neoliberal free trade bullshit, we're super dependent on the United States. Like 90-something% of our oil and gas goes to feed the U.S. economy at a discounted rate, I might add. And once the economy starts to crater, there's going to be, they're saying mostly young men, probably white men, would be, with like economic prospects dwindling, would be the most targeted through X.com to start advocating for annexation by the U.S. And that is why they are pointing out as X.com is one of these places that is just a disinformation ecosystem, and it is a danger to Canada. So I am actually in the process of starting a petition to the House of Commons to ban X.com from Canada. All ISPs should stop forwarding traffic and to X.com. That's what I'm doing these days. That's my today's project.
That's a pretty solid one.
Is that so? Have you noticed, you two, like in Canada, is that like becoming a big thing now? Like annexing parts of Canada to America? Like,
is that the biggest story?
Yeah.
Is that like, are people like fully supporting that? Like on, like
no,
I guess the
90% of the people are like, fuck this is a bad idea. 10% of the people are like, oh yeah, this is a good idea. And guess who they support?
The Nazis.
Oh yeah, I mean they're like the Maple MAGA up here, and this is like a foreign interference campaign. Yeah, the United States has been foreign. It's like, is the foreign interference we forgot to get angry about? We're angry at like Russia, India, China for interfering in our elections and whatnot. But the United States has been interfering in Canada for decades, especially through the fossil fuel industry and the Koch brothers who own the refineries we send our oil and gas to. So there's this whole fucking ecosystem of American billionaires that have been putting pressure on the United States for decades to do things that we don't initially want to do. So that I think it's time to start standing up to people like Elon Musk here. And if we can, the more we can trash his brands, his valuation, it's a real thing. And the more he becomes an anchor for Trump. Now, he just gave Trump another. He just gave Trump another $100 million. This, that was what I guess it cost to shoot a local car ad at the White House.
Yeah. I've done that. That's how much they cost.
Yeah.
That's how much they cost.
Yeah. Small town car ads. Yeah, they cost.
Small town car ads. Like the balloon guys.
Yeah. Those things ain't cheap.
Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Elon Musk, incidentally, just happens to be a Canadian citizen on top of everything else.
That's right. That's where he went first, right? Was Canada?
Sorry.
So his parents. So his grandparents were Canadian Nazi supporters who fled after the war because, you were a Nazi supporter. And so they're just like, yo, there's this place where basically Nazism is happening called South Africa. You want to go there? They're like, bet. And then they had, his Elon Musk's mother, and Elon was born or whatever, and then he went to university in Kingston, Ontario, Queen's University first, and he developed this weird like Canadian girl fetish, which is why like Grimes and like his first wives or whatever are Canadian. Anyway, all I wanted to say is that he's in the White House, and he's the biggest threat to the White House since 1812 when we fucking burned down the White House.
Going back, what is it about Canadian girls? Like, what's the fetish there? Like,
I don't know, man. I think it's probably he wants to fuck.
Tell me all about what you want me to do to you. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, like that's interesting. I mean, obviously people are into it, but like, I've never heard never seen
Canadian girl fetish.
Canadian girl fetish. I think it's for nerds who like their first girlfriend is like, you don't know her. She lives in Canada, and she doesn't actually exist.
That makes sense.
She's from Canada.
So speaking of rude dudes, Sam, you want to give us the nauseating Gavin Newsom?
Dude, it's almost like, do I have to?
Are we talking about Gavin Newsom's podcast on this podcast?
Yeah, because we got.
Oh my god!
Just because. Okay, the reason I brought it up because I have a lot of like friends who are trans in the LGBT community, and like Gavin Newsom, at least for a while, was always like a very big champion for the LGBT community. Like he was handing out marriage certificates back in the day. Like he was really into it. And then he goes on, was it on his podcast?
Charlie Kirk. No, he went on Charlie Kirk's podcast.
That was it.
I thought Charlie Kirk went on his podcast.
Wait, hold on.
Let's fact check this.
Yeah, hold on.
Because isn't his podcast something like "What the fuck is wrong with Gavin Newsom"?
Yeah, it's called "This Is Gavin Newsom."
Yeah, he was the guest.
Oh, he invited Charlie Kirk. Sorry, I flipped that. But it is quite significant that he platformed the Nazi in order to do what, Sam?
Basically, like go back on everything trans related. Basically, he agreed with him. It's like all the sports stuff where he's like, "No, I agree with you. Like we should keep them out. We should block them from certain things." I think there's
these guys care so much about women's sports.
Well, I mean, I think this is where we all learned from that poem I referenced earlier. When they came for the trans people, I helped throw them under the bus as fast as possible because I thought there might be some personal benefit to me in it. I mean, that's what Gavin Newsom is doing, and this is something we've got to be really careful of, which is some people's response to fascism is to just become a little bit fascist, a little bit more fascist, a little bit more, and say, well, if this is what the terrain is, and when people are like saying we shouldn't get too tied up in trans issues because it's divisive because they used it, they planned it, nobody gave a shit about it, and if we do not stand up for the most vulnerable people, we're done.
Well, and then
we're done. They won.
Newsom said too, he was like, he mentioned the influence of like Kirk and other MAGA people like on his 13-year-old son, and how like there are good things they say. He distanced
Take away
himself.
that phone, Gavin.
Dude, don't be around this. Don't be around this 13-year-old kid. Women, please stay away from him.
I mean, he's a dad. He's got a fucking responsibility. And I think if you are a dad now and you have a boy, your fucking responsibility is to keep your son from going down that goddamn rabbit hole.
That's so I have a child, and that's my whole thing is like monitoring my kids' like media habits, and like we constantly talk about like this kind of stuff because I'm like, I'll be goddamned if you go down this path. And like, like we go to protests, we go support the LGBT community, we do all that stuff. So and like even just like helping our neighbors who are homeless and things like that, like we do that because like it's also obviously a good thing. I believe in it. It's a thing I do, but I want it to be like my kid can see this and like be like, oh, okay, this is like what I need to be doing. Because now they're at that phase where it's like, yeah, dad is like the coolest guy in the world, which is great. They may lose it, but like I want them to like have that foundation of saying like, yeah, I need to help people who need help. I need to help these people. And that's what I'm trying to build. I'm sorry. It's like,
I think you are the best dad.
I want you to be the America's new dad, Sam.
Yeah, be everyone's.
I mean, that's
absolutely, Sam.
Seriously.
But no, it's just like it's just hard. Like because I grew up like being native in America and like having tons of racism against me. I never want my child to feel that, and I don't ever want my child to engage in those activities where they're hurting people and going after.
Yeah, but Sam, hear me out. What if there was a career advantage for you, like Gavin Newsom? I mean, let's be fair. Gavin Newsom is hoping to be in the White House one day, and he's thinking maybe he's got to be a little bit Nazi in order to do it. Just a smidge Nazi. He wants to be Nazi light because that's clearly works so well in taking on the Nazis.
I don't know. But so anyways, like this I know Gavin Newsom's not the best guy in the world, but like it just sucks because like.
But he is setting himself up to run on the Democratic ticket, and this is clearly a strategy of saying, you know, what won us the White House in November, what was so effective in stopping Trump, which was adopting his ideas. Which was going on the road with neoliberal right-wing Republicans who just happened not to support Trump. Oh, wait, no, that didn't work out very well. No. So what is the point of what Newsom's doing? Like, what is the point?
It's just, to me, it's just like,
He's garbage, and he needs to be flooded when he starts making his move on that. There just needs to be such a national.
Well, he's in California, so as we know, that's just going to happen any day now.
Ha ha, good one.
Well, speaking of banning pride flags, they're also trying to delete the gay. Yeah, we all know the DEI war that Mango Mussolini has been heading the last few months. But according to a database that was confirmed by U.S. officials and published by Associated Press, there have been more than 26,000 images and websites flagged for removal in the U.S. Department of Defense for containing a reference to LGBTQIA, contributions of women and minorities, or anything celebrating heritage. So, in other words, they're just scrubbing the database of anything that highlights diversity, equity, or inclusion.
And that's going across all departments, and there's a list of words, which of course transgender, transsexual,
disability
is part of them, but also black, BIPOC, bias, diverse, discriminated, accessible, indigenous, injustice, minorities, everything, multicultural, gender, hate speech, Gulf of Mexico, naturally. And they're just wiping it out. And I'll say I've got some firsthand experience. Part of what I do is educational content. And, everybody at the Department of Education that we worked with just got fired, locked out. We may not get, our final payment on the grant that we do, which we always lose money on these grants because everyone I know who's doing these grants does it at a loss because everyone's passionate about kids learning more. And so there's going to be companies shutting down because this is how they got things done. The department is basically an empty shell right now. And that's happening across all of them. I mean, the EP education is tragic. The EPA is terrifying because they're doing that to the EPA. This is what it means when government starts losing its ability to function. There will be nobody to check food safety. There will be nobody to check, except for maybe, Elon Musk's AI agent is going to be who's going to be checking. It's across the board.
Grok will get this. Grok
will get this. Well, he tried to buy OpenAI and they told him to fuck off because even he knows Grok's a piece of shit.
This seems to me like so petty. Not even just petty. This gets back to the whole these people are fucking losers thing. They are so insecure about being able to compete against anything that is not a fucking white straight male that they are deleting it because their whole fucking identity about being a white guy that always wins can't bear the thought of competing with somebody else that isn't that. Because the fact that they may fucking, win in their mind, which is just basically having been on the same fucking status rung is losing in their mind. They just can't fucking bear the thought of that. So they're just using the power that they have basically stolen. I don't know if they got it legitimately or not, but it feels like they're
breaking rules. They're breaking laws left and right.
All left and right. Yeah,
breaking laws left and right. Yeah.
Yeah. They may have been legitimately elected, but they're not using the powers of the government legitimately. So,
or efficiently, or intelligently. Some of the things that were flagged to be deleted were a historic photo of Enola Gay, which is an aircraft that dropped one of the first atomic bombs in Hiroshima.
The plane is too gay. The plane is too gay.
The plane was named after the pilot's mother, which was Enola Gay Tibbets. But because gay is in the name, it's flagged for deletion. Same with a photo of Sergeant Mayor A.C. Gay. That's also been flagged just because his name is Gay. So they're not.
And this is how they're firing people. This is how they're firing. This is how they fired the people that kept nuclear waste safe in Nevada and had to rehire. And this is how they're firing people. They're like.
They all have the name gay.
They literally have Musk interns going in and doing string searches for terms, not understanding the context of what it is, and then laying people off, deleting, wiping it out. I mean,
these people are like a misaligned AI. They're too fucking stupid to understand what the actual task is meant to be. That these people are so uncritical and unthoughtful that they're just like, it satisfies property X, therefore it's gone. What are you fucking doing, you mindless robot motherfucker?
They are a bunch of mindless
piece of shit.
So much fun.
Enola gay? Are you fucking serious?
Yeah,
You
they
should love it.
deleted.
You should love it. You're blowing up other people in another country. That's the whole point of it.
Doesn't the racism of the Enola Gay dropping the nuclear bomb after it was probably no longer military necessary trump the fact that gay is in the name? Apparently not. We're so
What the fuck is
gay-free.
next? The Flintstones theme song?
When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba dabba tea time, a dabba do time, have a gay old time.
Undeniable.